And actually, it's being published in Sweden before any other country. So it's published in Swedish before English. Because of different reasons. And we find it's very nice. And I wanted to just underline that this book is being sold today, and only today, at an extra price, reduced price. And that is 80 crowns. Normally the price is 120. So you make a good bargain if you buy it today. And the talk is also going to be recorded. And we are now starting off this service of selling the recordings of talks like this. So we are recording it, and then it will be burnt on CD. It's going to be put on CDs. And so if you would like to be able to listen to this on MP3 file, you can order and pay for it tonight, because then that's, or this evening, afternoon, and then that's all clear, and then you come and collect it at the center. So you will have to, the price is 50 crowns, and you put your email address, or if you don't have an email, your telephone, and we'll contact you when they are ready. And then you are so welcome to come and collect it at the center. So then if you haven't been to the center, this is your chance to see it. And I think when you hear the talk, you'll be very eager to have a copy of it. And also I would like to say that we are starting off a new workshop series where we are going to explore these 8 powers. On the heading for the series is What is spirituality really? Eller vad är andlighet egentligen? We feel this concept spirituality is so easily misunderstood. It's colored by many things. And it's very healthy to explore what is the meaning of spirituality. And we find that this book will be very useful to explore it. So we will work on one power per month. So there's going to be one workshop per month, starting in May, and that means all the months up to December we'll be working on these powers one by one. And if you want invitations to this workshop, all you have to do is to be on our mailing list. So if you're not on our mailing list already, where you get news and invitations to like this program, then please leave your email address before you go, and then we'll see that they are coming to the list. And I would like to ask Birgitta and Kajsa to stand up, please, because it's Birgitta and Kajsa who's going to do these workshops. So when you've seen them, you know it's easier to, it's not so dangerous. Huh?
Oh, very wise lady.
And Anthony is going to sign the book afterwards at the table by the window, so you can buy the book there, and then you can queue there. And actually, I tell you what, he usually writes a blessing, personal blessing in each book. So it may take a little time, but it's also worth it. I would also like to say that this is I think I said it is the 4th book that is being published in Swedish, and so not only is this offered exclusively today to a reduced price, but we also, if you want to buy the other books, we are selling them in packets. I don't know how, if you buy 2 together, it gets cheaper. You will be able to see exactly, but you can buy these books cheaper only today. And this last thing I would like to say is that a new course start in meditation, the foundation course in meditation, starts on Monday the 6th of May at 7 o'clock. And you can sign up for that on the website. And on your chairs you have the address to the website. We even have that date actually, information about that. And then lastly, Anthony had a good idea. I would like to read a line out of the book before I invite Anthony. And he said I can choose any power as I want, and so I knew which one I wanted to show you. The sixth power is the power of tolerance. And now I have to translate it into English because it's written in Swedish. So there's one liner under each power explaining it in a nutshell. And so how to explain tolerance, it sounds like this. To accept that we all belong together creates a generous heart, which includes others, however different they are. And why I like to choose this is because the picture, when I put the pictures together with the text, making the book, I didn't realize that the picture was fitting with that text. The picture was actually made just for the power, but not to that sentence. But if you listen to this, to accept that we all belong together creates a generous heart, which includes everyone, however different they are. And then look at the picture. Can you see? Well, maybe you can't see so far, but it's a knight and a horse which are cuddling with a dragon. So I would like to invite Anthony Strong, please.
Can I just check with those?
Oh yes, one more thing. Is there anyone who would like translation who haven't got it? Because the translation is happening on seats behind over there. Ja, det måste jag säga på svenska förstås. Om det är någon som vill ha översättning till svenska och inte har fått det, då finns det platser här borta och hörlurar här borta. För det är inte alla som har beställt som har kommit. Eller kanske sitter här och inte har upptäckt att det är här borta.
Det hörs väldigt tydligt. Du får inte. Du kan reglera det här så det blir reglerat. Kan du hjälpa henne?
In the meanwhile, while they're regulating the translation, I ask Brother Anthony to come, or Anthony Strong to come up, please. And I'd like to say a few words. Could you hear me? I will speak loud. I would like to just say a few words about Anthony. He is for the 9th time in Sweden, in Stockholm. And so he likes very much to come here, which is very delightful for us, because he travels a lot. It's a great demand. You know, I had to ask long in advance to be able to book this time. So it seems like he is mostly on the road or in the plane, somewhere or the other. And we met last week in UK, and then he said he doesn't get tired by this traveling, because usually people get tired and jet lagged when you travel so much. But he said that, no, I feel like when I come to a new place, I always ask, what have I come to do? In what way can I serve? And so it was touching me, and I was feeling when you have the attitude of service, that you become an instrument that something greater than you can work through you. And that's very much the experience we had with Anthony. Anthony, as you can understand from Strano, I think most people would understand his Italian name. But Anthony is born and raised in Australia, but his family comes from Sicily. And actually, when he was living in Australia, he felt like he was still in Sicily, because they were keeping together in their own community. And he didn't speak English. They were all speaking not even, what would you say, traditional Italian. They would speak Sicilian dialect.
Yes.
And he's the eldest of the children in the family. Now, what I've heard many times from Anthony was that when he grew up, he learned very quickly to become a parent. Because when you grow up and the parents don't speak English, then it became his responsibility to help with many practical things, speaking to schools, speaking to different authorities. He was 12 years old and having to do that. But he learned a lot through that, and that's what I see in one of Anthony's main qualities is care. Caring and compassion is a key quality that Anthony has. And he's living in Athens, and one of his favorite subjects, what I at least pick up, is often speak about mythologies of gods and goddesses, and has studied that from different parts of the world, and makes many connections in modern things that he sees. He often reflects that back to what's said in the myths about the gods and goddesses. He even studied Nordic mythology back in Australia, I think, and everyone wondered why.
Thanks. Okay. Good afternoon. So, where do I start? Because actually, strength and inner strength it's a big thing. And I mean, I don't know in Sweden, because when you come here I've been here many times, but for a short time. But I presume, maybe I'm wrong, but I presume that, like everywhere else, there are stresses, there are heartbreaks, there are deep search for a sense of meaning, a crisis of identity, more or less. I mean, in Greece definitely, and I presume in a lot of other places also. And we certainly need a lot of deep inner power, a lot of deep inner strength. And I don't know, because I've been here many times, but I don't know if I've shared this story with you, but I'll share it again. And because the idea of strength is very much linked to resilience, the ability to come back, the ability to rejuvenate, the ability to renew, the ability to affirm. And I remember when I was very young, and we lived near a eucalyptus forest, and a huge fire broke out, and that eucalyptus forest was burnt completely. All that was left were stumps of charcoal. That's it. And I thought, well, it's the end of a very beautiful forest, because all the animals went, everything went. And so it stayed like that for many months. And then it started to rain. And when it rained, immediately after the rain, from these black charcoal stumps, these little red shoots started to come out. And they were red, a very vivid red. And they started to come out and to grow. And they didn't turn green immediately. They stayed red for a long time. And then when they were big enough, you notice that they started to turn green. So I had a friend, and I asked him, how did they survive? And he was telling me, he said, well, the sap in the trunk of the eucalyptus tree is very fire resistant, and it's very strong. The roots of the eucalyptus tree, the roots go very, very deep, and they're able to find whatever nutrients they need. And I said, why does it make red leaves? Well, you see, the colour red appears poisonous to animals, so the animals will not come and eat it, because actually, as it's rejuvenating, if the animals came to eat the leaves, then it wouldn't have the strength to recover. So nature, of course, always, she's very wise. Although human beings think that they can improve on her, but anyway, that's another topic. and so no animal will come actually to eat it, and so it's able to regenerate itself. And I think the whole thing of actually our own resilience in a proper way, to move away from the sense of loneliness and hopelessness and whatever it is really to discover these inner roots and use them. Because if we don't discover those inner roots, we are not able to nourish ourselves. And this is the whole high thing of identity. Identity. One thing is, yes, I'm physical identity. There's a physical one, there's a social identity, but In order for those other two to work properly, there has to be the spiritual identity. And often when we use the word spiritual, it doesn't mean something abstract or something religious. What it means is those blueprints. You know this word? Blueprints, archetypes, resources. It's like patterns that are deep within my being. And they are the instincts that we have to love and to be loved, to belong, to be able to trust, to be able to create harmony and unity, to live in peace, to have a meaningful life, to be what I truly am. These are our blueprints. These are our inner resources. And we call this soul consciousness. But, in ancient Greece, Socrates was one of the things he said, until you find your spiritual dimension, you can never truly live as a human being. Because we are more than just something physical. And actually, a person who is in touch with their roots, with their spiritual resources, they will respect the physical. They won't misuse it. They will respect nature. They will not exploit nature, for example. And social. Yes, we need to be born somewhere. And that's good. Everything is good, because everything complements. But the problem is when there starts to be a sense of superiority or inferiority because of a belief system, because of a culture, because many things, colour, creed, then when this starts to come in, we forget to live as true human beings. And this is why there's so many conflicts. And possibly religion is the worst because but I don't, it's not the fault of the teachings of the teachers. It's not their fault. It's the people who didn't understand properly. How can there be violence if you're a spiritual being? I mean, how can you hate? How can you, do all those things if you're really connected with the truth of humaneness, which is peace and which is mutual respect? And so for many people, their concept of spirituality is it's either ritualistic, dogmatic, or quite abstract. And so to get back to the basics, and it's not so much now beliefs that are important, is it? It's behaviour. I think we all have, many people have right beliefs. I mean, many people, who will not say equality is important, respect. Everybody says that these are good things. But then, why doesn't it happen in life on a daily basis? What's gone wrong? Not completely wrong. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but certainly things do go wrong as well. And one of the basic things for being able to relate properly to life is the ability to be honest with myself. What are my needs? Where am I going? Who am I? What feeling of belonging? It's very important, for example, feeling of belonging. And my purpose, why am I here? Again, I cannot go into these things so much at the moment because I've got to deal with the things in the book. But, I'm sure that I'm thinking most of you know a lot of things already, and I don't think that the problem is a lack of knowledge. I don't feel this is a problem. What is the problem? Application. Putting it into practice. That's usually the problem. We forget what we know. And we forget what we know, and we forget, especially when we have emotional reactions to things, when we are very opinionated. when we, the big one is justice. I hear this a lot. Where there's upheaval and crisis, you hear the word justice a lot. And I ask somebody, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by justice? And usually it's very often 90% of the answer is they should be punished. Others should be punished. There's a saying, and it's in Italy as well, they say, when something goes bad for a person you don't like, they say, oh, God does exist. God exists. I said, what do you mean? Just because something went wrong for somebody you don't like? I said, how spiritual is this? How spiritual is this type of attitude? So we don't apply. And so, for example, justice is revenge and punishment. But they said, maybe it's something else. Actually, maybe real justice is based on forgiveness and finding the balance again. And maybe the one who does the wrong things, show them, help them to understand why it's wrong, why it's not good for them, why it sabotages them over and over again. One has, they don't listen, but one has to try. We have to try. And so, you see sometimes these people with very strong passion and obsession about rights and justice, and because I've lived through it, I've seen it, and no peace in their soul, no compassion in their heart. They just want to hurt. And maybe they have their reasons, but we say in English, 2 wrongs do not make a right. You heard this? You have it in Swedish also? No? 2 wrongs do not make a right. Yeah, maybe they did do wrong things. Maybe they are like this. But for me then to want to punch them and seek revenge, where's going to get me? So spirituality is to make the attention to keep non-violence, to find methods, to find ways to be able to, that can have mutual solutions for the one who oppresses and for the victim, because the one who oppresses needs to be educated. Otherwise, they will repeat what they do. They keep repeating. And so education is a very important part of spirituality. And so my inner strength, it's actually my reference point inside, connected in silence to those positive qualities of peace. And peace will bring, what does peace bring? Peace brings patience. Peace brings clarity. And when there's clarity, there's more perspective on things, and then my decisions will be much better. A person who is very stressed will always make wrong decisions. And it's very bad when those decisions affect the lives of others. If you just make it for yourself, still, of course it's not good, but okay, it affects you. But when it affects others. And I remember once when I was living with some people, and we were organising things, and one or two of them quite young, and my intention was not bad, but I was just, I think, too enthusiastic about things, and just let's do this and do this. But I didn't really ask. I just sort of assumed they agreed. Because the intention is good, this, that. But finally one person really rebelled. And and he's told me, he said, you just make a decision like that, but it's my life. And I really had no idea, that I was doing that. It's good that he said it, actually. He had the courage to say it. And so when I realized that at that time, never make decisions, whoever it is, whether it's your children, whether it's the students, with others you're working for, never make a decision until you really listen to what they have to say. No matter how well intentioned, no matter, maybe no malice is there, but still, you know, I think one element of spirituality is that I must realize the impact on others of what my words and actions have. I should be aware of that impact. Especially if I'm in a position of responsibility for others, even as a parent even. I don't mean have to be the Prime Minister of the country. We'll leave that aside, that's not a big discussion. But just as a parent, just as directing something, you know, I have to always be aware of the impact on others and be a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more caring. And so the real spirituality is when I have the ability to teach myself. Don't wait for the teacher. It's already in you. Teach myself. And how can I teach myself? Look at the consequences of the things that I do and say. How do they impact? If the same problem keeps repeating, if there's the same reaction from another person over and over again, shouldn't I go deep in myself and start to see, you know, what attitudes should change? Or I just say it's their fault. They're thick-headed. Maybe they are thick-headed. Maybe they are this, but still, I can then find an attitude. I can find a way that maybe is able to deal with the situation without having to have bad feelings and crashing head on. This is spirituality. You know, we forget sometimes people think it's just a very religious thing. This is a very practical thing. And the 8 powers that we researched and spoke about and wrote about, I mean, it's not just myself, this is from all different people. And it's learning from interactions with others. And the first thing for change, because to increase my positive power, which means my awareness, my sensitivity to others, my ability to tune in, my ability to also confirm myself. It's not that I, you know, have to put myself always lower. I have to keep myself more neutral in order to get the right perspective of things. And so these powers, we chose 8. Who knows? There may be, you know, many more, but these are sort of the very more practical ones. The first step to inner transformation, and it's important, is my change. Because we wait for others to change. When they're patient, then I will communicate properly. When they do this, then I'll do that. You know, if we're too conditional, things will not improve. Do they? They don't. I don't think so. But you've got to be generous-hearted. You know what it means to be generous? Give the opposite of what others may be giving. Somebody's impatient, let me be patient, because then I can teach them through example. I can help them. Some people tell me, well, you know, I've got to survive in this world. They cheat, and then I have to cheat. I said, really? Is that how it goes? But you're going to their level. They're angry, I'm angry. They're not communicating, I won't communicate either. Who do they think they are? Actually, you're going to their level. What is my aim? What do I really wish for in my relationships, or my relationship with life? I've got to be generous. But you see, to be generous, I have to be strong. You know, how am I going to be patient with the person that presses my button every day nearly? Who, you know, is so inconsiderate and this. How am I going to do this? I'm fed up. I've had it up to here. And we, you know, Lotte read about tolerance, but sometimes, see, what happens is we think we are tolerating something, but actually we're suppressing. I'll put up with this, I'll put up with that, but actually I'm suppressing. And like a pressure cooker, it's going to explode at one point. And that's not the way to go forward. For example, tolerance doesn't mean you don't say anything. See, it's not mean I don't say anything. It doesn't mean I don't put limits. It's all to do how I do it. How do I do it? Do I do it in an accusing manner? So you're a thick head. You have such an ego, I'm fed up, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to be, it's not going to work out. Or an accusing tone. I've been patient 50 times with you. As soon as you calculate, the generosity is lost. I will not be able to continue. But yes, you may ask, but if people are like that, what do you do? But this is the whole point, is that I have to build up my inner strength on a daily basis. And one way of that is silence. I'm silent, I become still, I can recharge. We do need to stop and recharge. It's like a mobile phone. You can't keep using it all the time. It has to stop. You've got to plug it in. It recharges. A car. You've got to stop when you're driving, don't you? No matter how much you're in a hurry to get your destination, you've got to stop. A car is for moving, but you'd never buy a car without a brake. Would you? If you did, your family will wonder what's wrong, But it's for moving, but it has to have a brake. It has to stop. We forget to stop. We forget to reflect. We forget to see where the traffic is going. The traffic of thoughts, the traffic of people's character. I don't have to hit head on all the time. This is why we get stressed, because we don't stop. And of course the value of speed, to get more, to be more. People think the more they have, the more the results they have, the more value they have. It's a mirage. You are not your results. I've seen people have very good results, but they're so empty inside. And they can be applauded a lot, but they're still discontent inside. Success, real success, in terms of contentment and happiness, real success is not from results. Success is from my intentions. Because most people that did sometimes very good things, other people didn't recognize it while they were alive, When they're dead, safely dead, then they start to think, he did a great thing, or, the great artists, the great doctors. There was one great doctor like that. They took him out of medicine and everything. He was called the saviour of mothers. He worked out the practice that there had to be hygiene and cleanliness in the hospital. Everyone thought he was a nutcase, can't be like that, just washing your hands in disinfectant. Then later on they realised actually he was right. And so I cannot be linked to result or needing approval all the time. Yes, I need to be peaceful, I need to always be respectful, but I have to go on. But that power to go on without being violent and resentful for those who reject me, that power to go on comes from very clean intention. My intention is good. I will also get a power from inside myself. So to stop, to be quiet from time to time, to watch where the traffic of life is going, not to judge it, not to be critical of it, but to discern it. And this is one of the powers. But the very first power of all is introspection. introspection is to be able to go within and inspect myself. Actually, introspection, because all these 8 powers create positive change. That's the whole point of the 8 powers. And so the first one, introspect. 2, step back. Take a step back. Detach. If we are too emotional, or if we are too intellectual, it's very, we can't do it. So I have to, it's very important I become my own teacher. And I learned the ABC of positivity. I'm a student. We're students, aren't we? It's very, never be an adult too quickly. Adults can get very cynical, very, sometimes a bit bitter, sometimes a bit they know it all. Yeah, I know that. Be positive. Yeah, we all know that. But one thing is to know, one thing is to be it. It's quite different. You can know something, but you're not that. That's the problem at the moment. That's why things are fragile in the world. Everybody knows all the right slogans. But to actually be them, you've got to do, I've got to do some work. It's great work. It's interesting work. So the first step back. Anybody who discovered anything, or anybody who created anything beautiful, was able to step back and research and try to understand it. They had this detachment creates a respectful space, and I get perspective on things. And in that introspection, I can choose. I can just choose to be still. I can choose to be quiet. Or I can choose to reflect. I reflect. How, this is happening. Why is it happening? How can it improve? There are different things that I can do. But if I want to understand something from another angle, the next power after introspection, again, there's a lot more to these 4 powers, of course. I'm just giving the essence of them. And the second one is, after introspection, of going within, detaching, creating space, is discernment. Because in English they used to use another word called judgment, which is not a good word. And discernment is quite different from judging something. When you go to a doctor, the doctor will discern. And a teacher will discern the capacity of the student. Now the student is not so clever in something, won't judge and put a label, this is a stupid person, they'll never understand anything. Discerning is different in the sense that a discerning person will try to find solutions to something. They tune into what is appropriate. They don't tune in and focus on always what's wrong. Yes, they will see what's wrong, but they won't focus on what's wrong. They will be aware of it, and then they will discern what solutions can work. And they will then experiment with that. Because, when you judge something, you label and you're critical. You can do that with yourself also. You do that. I can do that with myself. My karma's like this. Oh, my character's always being like this. My mother has always said I'm like that. You're judging yourself. You don't create a new way to see yourself. And so this is what discernment is, a new way. And it's a very powerful word in English, is appropriateness. See what is appropriate, which means according to time, according to situation. You see, you don't use formula thinking. Formula thinking, people have formulas which are good in themselves and they just apply without any connection to the situation. For example, formula thing, let's all be loving, right? But, it's a bit hippie style. It's good, it's correct, let's be loving. But what does that entail practically? with somebody who's aggressive, somebody who's egoistic, somebody who's this, or some, I'm too attached, I get stuck. To understand the meaning of, because loving, it includes respectfulness, kindness, forgiveness, creating space for the other to be free, not possessing. I need to discern all these things. Because we're sometimes, a formula just creates a flat perspective. I don't see things from other ways. And so what will happen when I have a flat understanding or flat perspective? What happens? The same problems keep repeating in my life. The same problems, the same pain, the same conflicts. The conflict may shift from this person and go to another person. Why? Why? God doesn't love me, I'm cursed. Is that the reason? Life is really bad. Sweden is terrible, all the people are like this is why. People do that, sometimes they blame their country. Or keep blaming something. No. The solution is never in blame. Never. Never, never. Yourself, your past, the other people. No solution ever in this. But it's so easy to do. Because then, you know why? It's easy to blame. I don't have to take any responsibility for a different action. No responsibility. It's your fault that I'm unhappy. You cheated me. I gave you everything. After 25 years of marriage, look what's happened. I gave everything. I remember my aunt was saying to me this once, like my uncle. But aunt, who told you to do that? Why did you have to give everything of yourself like that? But this is what an Italian woman does. I said, well, you should have learned this at the beginning. But but it says, is it that? Is it because you were giving and generous, or because you were needy and insecure and you had to stick on somebody? What's the real reason? Of course, it says, can we stop this conversation? Which is understandable from her part, but after the same complaints. After a few months, the same complaint. I said to her, Lily, I cannot listen. I'm not helping you by listening. Discern what changes there have to be in your attitude. But it's not my fault. I said, not talking about whose fault it is. Whatever comes to me, I've created that reality. Whatever comes into my life over and over again is because I allow it for some reason. No, I don't want pain. Yes, on one level, no. But on another level, what is the mechanism that always puts you in that situation? It's not a matter to condemn the self. It's a matter, honesty liberates me. And I need to feel guilty. Just, realization, to be free. This is discerning. These are all the aspects. It's probably the most important out of all the 8. Because, wrong discernment, wrong understanding, there's wrong application. Or, none. If I understand tolerance in the wrong way, I'm going to do it in the wrong way. I'm going to get bad results. If I understand love in the wrong way, I don't discern it properly, I'm going to feel lonely. Because, love is not to be obsessed about anyone or possessive. Whether it's a person, whether it's a position, whether it's a role. Your value comes from you. It's not through anyone or anything. But habits are strong. But we like freedom, eh? But the freedom is never from others. The freedom is always from myself. And the way I think about things. And one thing I've learned is when you have this power of discernment. You know, a very important power is also to have the power of lightness. Don't take yourself too serious. Yes, be careful. I need to be caring, I need to be honest, but also, you know, light. Otherwise I can get very heavy. I did this wrong, why this? No. I'm a student. I'm learning. Take it easy. And then, after discernment, what happens after that? You've discerned things. I've discerned certain things. Decision. I've got to act. Because if I discern what is appropriate and then I don't make a decision about it, I don't act on it, it can be, then I just go in circles, you know, philosophical circles, psychological circles. Because, you know, there's a point to understand, right? I need to understand. I need to discuss with the right people, but then stop and decide what I'm going to do. But you know, when I don't take the responsibility to decide and act, you know, I just keep thinking and talking, and always in the same gravity, you know, in the same movement, you know. And sometimes, you know, I've seen myself and I've seen other people, you know, up and down, depending on the situation. It makes you dizzy. Very dizzy. And it's kind of confusing. Why? I have not decided. This is the way now. I must either, you know, I must go, I must experiment with this, I must try it, I must apply it. So no decision, no action taken, there will be no learning and no change. No matter how well I have thought it out. No matter how well I've discerned it. And what do I need? What's the fourth power I need for this third power? Because one is leading to the other. After I decide and act, I will need courage. Don't I? I need some courage. And to keep determined in that courage, I have to do it and see. We've got to experiment, otherwise we never will see new things. And sometimes, you know, when you experiment, you know, you can fall flat on your face. But it's okay, I get up. And maybe I have to try it from another angle. I need the courage to keep going. Many things, people, you notice that people who really achieved something and were happy about their achievement, you notice they did fail many times. Many times. The first person that made the aeroplane, you know, it just went up for 2-3 seconds and then it went down again. But he kept trying. Leonardo da Vinci tried, flapping the wings on somebody, made his wings to flap and fly trying. Didn't work, but he kept experimenting. He built things. He built the first kind of helicopter. So, he doesn't, I try once, didn't work, I give up. This is very important when you're trying to change the relationship. It's very important not to calculate. I've been tolerant enough. I've been this enough. Maybe, but maybe then I should choose something else. Maybe not tolerance, maybe clarification. And speak clearly, not aggressively. This is the whole thing. I need courage, but courage shouldn't make me aggressive, but it should make me assertive. That means I still respect the other person's existence, but I do not accept that behaviour. But I won't hate them or dislike them or reject or have all these other feelings inside, because that will entangle me too. It will entangle me. So the courage to be clear. But the courage also for me not to be aggressive about it. You see, and when we suppress, we will get aggressive afterwards. suppression creates a lot of aggression. So courage. They say in India, there's a saying, you take one step of courage, God takes 1,000 steps towards you. If you believe in God, that is. This is one of the sayings they have. And it's true, even on courage means determination and actually also enthusiasm. Because the one who tries something, even over and over again, they do achieve. They do achieve. And you get an enthusiasm from a progress. But then also to have courage and to put things into action, I need to, which one is it? The fifth power. Let go. There are some attitudes, there are some desires, there are some mental, mindsets. Let go of them. Because when I let go of a mindset, then there can be very new things happening. It's very difficult to discern a mindset. I think it's normal. I think, it's normal. Or, the big one is, the big mindset is, I'm right. It's just not clear to others. I'm right. They haven't discovered. They haven't appreciated. But I'm right. It's a big mindset, isn't it? I need courage to let go of this. And how do you let go? Everybody's in I could be right. That could be right. But also, when you've had to ever do reconciliation work between people and you hear both sides, you see that from each one's angle, they are right in their own way. But the problem is, in that self-righteousness of being right, they do not listen or see the perspective of the other person. Why they're doing something. Why they're acting like this. And they may have very good reasons. I may not agree with those reasons, but I can try to understand them. So letting go of what I think is right, there's a very special virtue. It's not regarded as a big one. When you think of virtue, you think of trust and love and cooperation, but neutrality. It's very, very helpful to be neutral. The Red Cross was able to do a lot of work from Switzerland because it was a neutral country. It helped everybody. Doesn't matter if they were German, doesn't matter if they were Chinese, if they were Polish, if they were this. Their aim was they had to give assistance to everybody. So they had to always let go of who's right, who's wrong, nationality, whatever it is. Your aim is there to do this work. That's what I did. So mindsets, they say there's a saying now, think out of the box. But it's not that easy to do because we're so used to thinking in the box. And actually, when you're in the box too long, you don't even think anymore. You don't. You just sort of...
The opposite is...
Yeah. Yes, it's just, automatic reactions, automatic things. So, let go. Bad feelings. Remembering the past. They said this to me 25 years ago. Good memory. My mother treated me like this, like this, like this. And maybe it's true they did, but blaming the past or blaming somebody is not going to make my present better. It's not going to work. And sometimes, people use, what I notice is, I notice in myself, how do I learnt all these things by looking at myself too, not about just looking at others, is that we use blame and guilt as an escape mechanism. Oh yeah, I feel guilty, I'm not so good, I'm useless, I'm this, like getting pity from others and justifying my lack, my not taking responsibility to act differently. Or blaming what happened to me in the past by some, when we blame a person, especially in the past, the word demonize? We demonize them. And people use this a lot, for example, in war propaganda. In war propaganda, they demonize a person, a race, they do this. Never must I demonize anybody. Never. I'm dead if I do this. It's death. Really, it's death. And if I'm a little bit more generous, a little bit more trying to understand, maybe that person, it could be parent, it could be relative, maybe, I don't know what lives they led with their parents and what they had to go through. And, it made them how they were. To be a little bit, a bit more forgiving, a little bit more understanding. I remember my brothers used to talk about my father. He was a very good person, but didn't always show his affections, And they used to, as they grew up, they started to blame for that. I said, don't do this, Because I knew the story. I knew the story of his father. And he tried to improve so much, not trying to be like his father. His father was very hard. Very hard. Remember, he was sick from the war. He's a 20-year-old youth, 1.5 years in a cast, in an upstairs room. Father never went once to see him. In fact, he complained he was eating too much. And his mother went. So, if you have that type of treatment, it's going to be hard then to get that out of your personality when you're dealing with your own children a bit, Not that it was hard, but, that distance was there. It was just ingrained. But it's okay, That's why we said before, give the opposite. Somebody's a little bit distant, come close. This is spirituality. Don't blame the past. Let go. Let go. Let go. So all these first five are with myself. Right? Then the next three, as I've got those proper, this is always ongoing. It's not actually, we put 1, 2, 3. It's not you do one and then you do two. Actually, they intermingle. But when I've got that first part, that inner foundation, working, then I can do the other three. And the other three have to do with interaction with people. Tolerance. Tolerance, but be careful because, sometimes the word tolerance can sound and can be used in a very patronizing way. Oh yes, I'm tolerating you with all your ego, Or I am tolerating that. Not like this. This is a very wrong, it's wrong understanding. So I have to discern, I have to go back, very often I have to go back to number 2. Discern. What's the real tolerance? Because it shouldn't be a pressure on myself. If I feel the pressure on myself, that means I'm not understanding something properly. And so, tolerance is actually a deep respect and a deep acceptance for difference. That's why it's, that the difference is the principle of life. Complementarity. This word, complement. Everything in life complements. The leaves complement the flower. My nose complements my eyes, my mouth, my ears, my face is things complement. You can't say I prefer to have 3 noses, no ears. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So it's not the way it's meant. Oh, I love apple trees. Apples, apples, apples. I'll eat apples. I'm going to get sick. There's apricot trees, there's bananas, There's cabbages, there's carrots. Society also. Everybody can't be a baker. Everybody can't be a doctor. Otherwise society will not function. Will it? Things have to complement. Tolerance is based on this, because unfortunately, when people hear tolerance, they swallow. Yes, I put up with this. Maybe we should change the name, I don't know, but just understand that it means really attuning in to this principle of complementing, of difference, which is what makes life function, is difference. It's not sameness that will make life function. You can't you cannot just keep eating apples, for example. You can't have only doctors in a society. But who's going to clean the roads? Who's going to teach the children? You need everyone. And so when we realize all are necessary and all contribute, then maybe a better word, tolerance is this acceptance, this inclusive vision, and respecting difference, really respecting difference. Then people really, the reason why they don't is they fear difference. They fear it. They fear a different nationality. They fear a different religion. Why? Because I'm not secure in myself. When I'm not secure in myself, I will have fears. There can be all kinds. And anything that's different is a threat, rather than an enrichment. But different things are an enrichment. Because, people tell me things, I never thought of them before. It's good, I get that perspective. But if I'm, not secure, I know it's wrong. This is what's been happening through the centuries, Everything that is not accepted is regarded as, from the devil, sometimes they say, or from this or from that. Because souls are not insecure. And to create security in myself, it's not an economic security. It's an emotional security. And it comes from knowing who I am. And knowing my purpose. And having roots, those roots inside. These are the things that create this power of tolerance to work. And when we have this power of respectfulness, then we will have adjustment. The seventh power is the power of adjusting. Who can adjust? See, again, the more stronger I am, the more I can adjust. Otherwise, I'm rigid. You see, a strong soul is always very flexible. A weak person is very rigid. And they break. A strong soul will have humility. That is, they're open. That's what it means. A weak person, is very dogmatic. Like this. So there was a story once, a Chinese story, of a huge wind, an enormous wind, an angry big wind, and there was a huge oak tree, and there was a little reed. Do you know what a reed is? It grows in the water. Have you seen those reeds that grow in the water? They're very slim, and they grow out of the water. And this big wind came, and he says, I'm very angry, so I'm going to knock everything down here. And he says, I'm going to knock you too, you big oak tree, you've been here 300 years. And he says, no, you can't, I'm very strong, I'll resist you. And so they were fighting. Then what happened is that the arm broke, then the other arm, and then it was ripped apart. And the reed, as the story goes like this, the reed, seeing the big wind, bent. She was able to bend. And she stayed bent on the surface of the water as the wind passed. And so, and then she was able to be upright again. And so I remember they were telling, the Chinese master used to tell this to his students, remember that strength is in being able to bend. don't always insist on getting your own way. Doesn't mean you're stronger because you insist on getting your own way. Know when to bend, know when to be assertive, but don't always be assertive all the time. And so adjusting, I need to adjust. And adjustment is actually to see also the others, respect the other point of view, and then I can also discern it. Because somebody may have another point of view, I can listen, I can discern, but it may not be appropriate. So, I've been in those situations, and so I said, for the moment, this moment, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Let's see. Never say absolutely no. Depends what it is, of course. Everything depends on what it is. And also you can feel the motive sometimes of the other person. But even if the motives are not good, I shouldn't get into a boxing match. I should have the wisdom to be flexible, but not, never mix up. I must never mix up, which I did very often, flexibility with compromise. I used to compromise because I didn't want confrontation. I didn't want, things. But it was not good. I realized I had to stand my ground. But not, boxing. Not boxing. This is adjustment. And then finally, cooperation. So if all the others are happening in one or another, cooperation also happens naturally. And cooperation is again linked to valuing the self, valuing and knowing my contribution, but also equally valuing the contribution of others. And in life, no one, no matter how talented, no matter how great, can ever do things alone. We see, for example, a singer, she gets all the awards and does all this, everything, but and I noticed when one singer, she got her Grammy Award, she actually acknowledged very deeply all the people that made it possible for her to be able to do that record. So the sound manager, the production manager, the person who wrote the songs, because there's all this invisible team. There's the invisible team that makes things happen. Of course we need cooperation. It cannot be just one. One may have a great idea, but if nobody responds to that idea, how's he going to do anything? There has to be people that always respond. I can play the piano wonderfully and I enjoy it, but my happiness will really come when I can share it with an audience. Yeah? Isn't it? Cooperation. If you were not here, I'd be talking to the pole. So, how sort of inspiring would that be? It's sort of, I've seen this, once I saw this documentary on this heart transplant, heart transplant. Okay, there was the main surgeon, but then there were other surgeons, and there were nurses, and there was an anaesthetist. Many people doing that. And it's the one who would cooperate and give respect to all the others that gets the work done properly. And they will definitely feel it wasn't just me. They will really feel that. They don't just say it as a platitude, as a slogan. They really feel it. But it is like that, isn't it? Everything for something to happen, not just cooperation, but mutual response. Mutual response. So I think, we the more I truly value myself and who I am, it doesn't make me more self-centered and egoistic, actually it will make me more open and inclusive. So, because silence is also a power. That makes all the others work. and meditation, be able to collect my signs, go into myself and be peaceful. And somebody was telling me, when I don't know, it was a relative of mine who don't like these things, they said, you do all this meditation, it makes you self-centered, makes you narcissistic, doesn't it? I said, actually, no, it's the opposite. Actually, I've come a lot more out of myself because I have found myself. If I do it in the wrong way, I get closed in myself. And I said, for you only care for your wife and your children, but there are many children. There are many other people. You don't care just for 3 or 4 people. It's much bigger. The family, the human family is much bigger. So, the deeper I go into myself and I do it in the right way, then the more I come out. It's like a seed of an apple tree. You've got to put it in the earth, hidden. You've got to hide it first. It's hidden, so it starts to go up, then it starts to come out. If it's got the right vitamins, the right water, it starts to come out, grows and grows, and gives thousands of apples for, how long does an apple tree live? 50 years, 40 years, I don't know. Actually, I went somewhere here on an island in Sweden. I saw these apple trees, 100 years old, and they had apples on them. It's an island nearby. So actually, and the roots. See, you always have this balance in life of inwardness, and if the inwardness is right, the outwardness is very generous. It blooms. Yes, people can be they can go in the wrong way inside, but also people can be on the outside in the wrong way too. Mechanical, technical, blah blah blah. Nothing is said. So silence in the right way, will make me a more balanced. Everything is balanced. In and out. Self-regard, self-respect, respect for others, respect for life. It's all together. You can't just be in self-respect. You can't be happy just for yourself. I can't be peaceful just for myself. I will lose it. These things like peace and joy and respect and love, they only increase when you give them away. They never increase if you just hold on to them. This is my peace. Don't disrupt. It's mine. It will never increase. The more you share, the more you grow. This is a law. Now, for example, even artists, our most happiest artists was when there were response from people and they could share it. An artist, even though he's very talented and no one appreciated, could get very miserable. We're a human family, But in a human family, it's like a flock of birds. When they fly together, it's very beautiful to see them singing together. It's very nice. But each one has their own wings. Birds do not borrow wings from each other. And a garden is very beautiful, but each plant has its own roots. That's why they can be beautiful together, because they each has their own roots. They're not parasitical. Humans, unfortunately, they've become a little parasitical. They try to live through others. You have to give me love. You have to appreciate me. I'm nothing without you. Really? How odd. How odd. When my sister used to wait for her boyfriend to ring on the telephone. Yet he was cheating on her. I mean, I knew. You know? She was waiting. Like one night after night. So what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, he may telephone. Big deal. So what? I said, you know, in this type of attitude, this is what you're doing. You know, you're losing your dignity. But I'm in love. Okay, what kind of, you know? I said, okay, but you know, it's got to be kind of balanced and, you know, mutually respectful. Otherwise, you know, I mean, what is this? I think about it, you know. Because I said, you know, I didn't want to tell the details, but I knew, you know, if someone's cheating, telling lies, what kind of relationship is that? And You know, they say love is blind, and sometimes it really is. But it's very hard. You see, when you're in a very deep emotion, it's very hard, isn't it, to be logical. Other people can be for you, but if you are in that, it's very hard. Very hard. But if I have enough self-respect, I will not repeat pain. You know, what's the motivation for all of these things we're talking about? My own dignity, my own self-respect. I don't want to repeat the same pain, the same stupidities, the same things. I can learn, yes, but I will not repeat. It's a sense of my, inner dignity. You know, we all have to keep our dignity as human beings. And I mustn't be so weak that I allow others to manipulate me. What others can do to me is because I allow them. That's all. That's the only reason. But they're bad, they're this and that. No. Once it can happen, twice can happen, but don't I learn after that? Am I such a blockhead? No. Keep my dignity, you know. I hope this doesn't sound too difficult, but I think it's. I think these things are common sense, but it takes time and daily attention. It's daily attention. It's not, when I'm down and depressed, I want to do meditation and I want to be positive. No, it won't work then. It's got to be lifestyle. It's like when people go to the doctor and they're very sick. Usually very many sicknesses can be start to be removed. Usually, I'm not saying all, but usually, lifestyle. And what I notice is that people have a good lifestyle, even if they are sick, they have a positive mental attitude, they can go beyond it. Lifestyle, mind style, that's the way. It's not, I eat fresh juices, once a month, and I eat good food once a month, and the rest I have hamburgers and chips and Coke. It's not going to work, actually. So, mindfulness, awareness on a daily basis. Why? Because that's how I want to live. I want to live meaningful, but it's done on a daily basis, not once in a while. The other, I live like a mechanical robot. Go to work, get up, eat. Go to work, get up, eat. And then I have a breakdown. I must do some positive thought courses. Be positive. Be a learner, a student every day. Not just, when things are down. Yes, sometimes life hits me hard, but that's then a realization to change my lifestyle. Okay. Om Shanti, and we'll do a little bit of silence together. Yes. And then, if you'd like to ask something afterwards, you can ask. Just relaxation.